This is an open letter to President Trump. Bravo, sir. Bravo. Congratulations, you have started your presidency with a lot of bangs, with energy. Let's put it this way. Now, hopefully everything works out well. But you have started with a lot of energy. Bravo. Salute. However, sir, I thought I'd mention a thing or two. I read a few words that you are of German extraction, mostly. And believe it or not, Germans are from Iranian extraction. And I am somewhat of Iranian extraction. So basically that ends up being, it's like me and you, President Trump, we are brothers. We are German brothers. Although none of us really were ever in Germany for long, but I guess we are German brothers. And, you can really tell. There is one German trait that is common amongst all the people who are associated with Germans, and that is stubbornness. They can tell whatever they want about you and your life in the history books, but they always have to add that no matter what he was, good or bad, he was stubborn. And the whole idea of you getting assassination attempt and you still stood your ground, that's stubbornness more than anything else. You're stubborn, so am I. Well, the Germans are known for stubbornness, so let me get right to the point. That means the Iranians, which is all of these people and us and everybody these German brothers have come from, imagine how stubborn those motherfuckers are. It's something that is, I'm sorry, it's I'm not making any of this up, it's just there in history. Salute. Story of my life, story of your life, story of the Germans and the story of the Iranians is that they're stubborn. Whatever they do in whatever endeavor they start, they're stubborn. So here's the thing. I don't think, you have tried a policy of twisting the Iranians' hand until they say uncle for what? 100 years now, 200 years, if you consider when the British were doing it alone, until now that, Uncle Sam is carrying most of the muscle for the British and British ideas. From then till now, you figure out that these guys have not given up the family jewels. Sometimes they literally gave up the family jewels, but metaphorically they didn't give up the family jewels to the European colonialists. So they're stubborn. They're not Indians. They're stubborn. As soon as the British went in, the Indians adopted the language. Many of them adopted the religion of the British, language of the British. They basically pulled down their pants and took it all the way in. So that's with the Indians. But there are certain, Japanese are the same, Koreans are, have you noticed Koreans are holding the line for, 75 years now, 50 years now at least? 75, yes, 50s, 2025, that's 75. So for 75 years, they're stubborn, I'm trying to tell you. So are you. So are the Germans. in order to keep, basically in order to keep an identity for yourself, you have to be stubborn. If you don't, if you're not able to keep a solid identity for yourself, they say you're not stubborn. But when you stick to your guns, and which means you actually have an identity and you hold on to it, then they call you stubborn and want to hold on to it. Here's the thing, sir. Israel was a British creation. Nobody of the natives wanted it. A bunch of Europeans of a specific religion, and they could have been Shinto, they could have been Hindu, they could have been somebody not of the natives. European of any religion. You could have dropped Mormons off. Well, that was years later. But the point is this: you could have, sent to Palestine some Europeans who happen to be Lutheran. You exile the Lutheran out of Europe and you send them to Palestine. It doesn't matter. You have brought that. What I'm trying to say is the religion doesn't matter. Your sister, the British idea was to take a bunch of Europeans and settle them in Asia. The natives are brown, the newcomers are white, pink. Doesn't matter. We tell them these pink people, pink skins, used to be brown some time ago. And that's how we, stick it to the natives. Well, Israel has become the stick that white people of European descent is shoving the stick into Asia, or trying to shove this stick into Asia. Literally, Israel literally looks like a knife. Palestine, Israel, on the map, it literally looks like a knife. It's like the white people, Europe, especially British Europeans, are trying to, knife Asia with a group of Europeans that they have exiled into Asia. These people, President Trump, the traditional clothes of Jewish people is a black overcoat. The Orthodox Jews wear a black overcoat and long pants, black overcoat with a big black hat. Do you think that's a tradition that has started in the Middle East? Do you think this is the tradition that has started with these people? I mean, you can see the same attire when you're in Moscow 500 years ago. When you're in Moscow, you would see the same attire. Right now, you see the same attire, except many of them don't wear the long brimmed hat. So these guys are it. They're Europeans. Their traditional garb is a garb purposefully designed for a cold climate. They don't have their white, and their clothing is traditionally designed for cold climate. What part of these people are Asian? Yeah, I was African 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. I probably was. We all came out of Africa. At one point, we are all Africans. That doesn't mean we can go and take over African land from wherever in the world we were born. Doesn't matter. You go over, you can do that, but in small numbers, as long as you accept that you're going to be a minority. You pay, you go to Africa, you pay people, and you buy some land. That may be acceptable for Africans, but it's not acceptable for you to suddenly, as an outsider who wasn't born here, to become part of the ruling class, to rule them, and push everybody else who was native out of the land. Sir, the point I'm trying to make is that Iranians are stubborn. So are you. So are the Germans. We are basically German brothers. We are both sides are stubborn. But the reality is, when you know you're right, and when the rest of the planet also agrees that one of us is right, the other one better back off. Right now, internationally, throughout planet Earth, every country, almost 90% of the population of the world, is has understood the implications of Israel, just like they understood the implications of Saudi Arabia, South Africa. Implications being when you settle a bunch of white people from Europe in a corner of your planet that is not Europe, then you want that small population to be the ruling class of that society, to the point of cleansing whoever doesn't agree that white people here should be the ruling class. Basically, Israel has accepted those few Arabs who have agreed, those few brown people who have joined Israel and agreed that these white people should be the boss in Arabian Peninsula. They are considered as friends. Yes, we agree that white people from Europe should be the boss. That's basically Saudi Arabia. Surprise, surprise, Saudi Arabia was an older creation of the British, and Israel is a younger creation of of the British. So on Arabian Peninsula, the British have created these countries, and they just pulled one out of their ass with a bunch of people from Europe. They have created these countries and then set them on fire, pit them against each other. These made-up countries that the British have created against the other made-up countries that the British has imported from Europe. Now these made-up countries have to fight each other specifically because one is native, one is imported. One is native, one is domestic, one is imported. Sir, you're in business, you're in trade. The domestic always gets precedence over the imported. That's the whole business behind, trade barriers, is because you want to give a, leg up to the domestic production, because you think that domestic production should be more important than the imported product. Well, the domestic people of Arabian Peninsula are brown Arabs. The imported ones are the Ashkenazi from Europe and North America. The precedence should be given to the natives. The imported Ashkenazi should accept that they're going to be in minority and they're not going to be ruling their own little gated community in the corner of Asia. They're just not. It's just not feasible, not economically feasible, not culturally feasible. You have taken a piece of Asia and you have declared it Europe. You have taken a piece of Israel is basically a piece of Asia that you have declared it Europe. Let's not forget that all the sports team, Israeli sports team, play in European leagues. They don't play in Asian leagues because you and your actions and your behavior and policy is clearly declaring Israel as an European entity, and you have no shame about it. It's just European entity, it just happens to be in Asia, and you think the Asians should be okay with it. Even the ones whose land was taken by these Europeans, they should be okay with it. Just move on. And not only these Ashkenazi are here, but the Ashkenazi should be the ruling class of these brown people. The white Ashkenazi should be the ruling class of these brown Middle Easterners. And if anybody has any issues with that, we're going to bomb them. Salute. Here is the thing, sir. It's called Arabian Peninsula. Here's the thing, sir. With all due respect, here's a simple solution, because nobody's going to back off. Especially the Iranians are not going to back off, because now they have the whole world behind them. Everybody has seen the degeneracy that this group of colonialists who always see themselves under threat from the natives. And don't get me wrong, this is the case. This is the case. I agree. We all agree. Israelis are under threat from the natives. The white is Europeans in Israel are always going to be under threat from the natives, because they're keeping the natives out of the natives' land. Of course, they're always going to be under threat because they're keeping the natives off the natives' land by force. Here is a ant colony, sir, right in front of me. If I go and decide that I'm a bigger person, bigger entity, I'm going to stand on top of this ant colony and show the ant what's what. I'm going to stomp on them because I want to declare my power, my right over that ant colony. I can do that. But it's a very stupid act, because the ants are not going to run out of, the colony is not going to run out of ants. I'm going to run out of patience sooner than the colony is going to run out of ants, although I'm a bigger individual. Why? Because they're defending their land. They were there first. That's their ant colony in the ground. I can try to go declare my ownership of their colony, but I'm sure I'm going to run out of patience, especially because of all the bites that I'm getting. I'm going to soon run out of patience and leave, then fight the ant colony until they run out of ants. My point is this, sir, that the Iranians are on the right, and the rest of the planet, whether Uncle Sam's managers agree with or not, the rest of that's why you had to pull out the veto card so many times recently in the United Nations. Uncle Sam's managers had to pull out the veto card left, right, and center because nobody on the planet is rooting for Israel. And the reason is not because the planet are bad people. No, the problem is just the whole idea of Israel, of a colony of Europeans in West Asia, is ridiculous to begin with, especially when this colony wants to expand and keeps inflaming the region. What happens after Iran? There are Muslims in Pakistan and India and Chechnya. They are next in line. The whole idea that you think you can continuously go on and tame this region. The moment you stop paying Egypt will have the Egypt population will, out of hunger and out of destitution, they will attack Israel. The moment you stop paying Jordan, the Jordanian government if they don't have funds to provide lockdown security for Israel, their people are naturally they want to go over there, go to Israel. So my point is this: you are paying for an unsustainable situation in Israel. Israel can overnight become free Israel. Overnight Israel can turn into New York City. This is frank, sir. I'm telling you frankly. There's no reason for this stubbornness. You're being stubborn about the wrong thing. The thing is that you're saying that no, Europeans have the right to have their own special colony, gated community of white Ashkenazi in a corner of Asia. This is the right that the Europeans have because they used to come from Asia. Here's the solution, sir. Take genetic tests. Salute. Actually, two solutions. One solution: tell Mr. Netanyahu, tell the Israelis that they have to open up their society and run Israel like the same way New York City is run. They're blacks and whites and Arabs and Jews and Christians, and we're all managing, and the police is making sure everybody behave. A secular police in New York City makes sure everybody behaves. The same thing can be executed in just civil laws, and a secular state will solve all this problem. Nobody says the Jews have to move out. Nobody says the Ashkenazis have to move out or have to, Israel has to be destroyed. No, Israel just basically dissolves, becomes a civil society instead of continuing to be a European section of Asia and the Asian section. And we don't want these Asians. We are going to import Indians so they work for us. We want those Asians. We don't want these Asians. We want those brown people. We don't want these brown people because these brown people happen to be native. They want to, they may want to rule themselves, but if we don't push them out, we bring other Asians in order for them not to demand any rights. If basically the idea behind Israeli idea of importing Indians instead of using the native Arabs as workforce, the idea is that those Indians who come, they're also brown and in our view dirty, but at least when they come, they don't believe they're owners. They will work and they will be temporary and they will be. Yeah, South Africa thought the same thing. Eventually the Indians and blacks got together and got their rights from the South African government. Eventually took their time, but eventually. My point is this, sir, that a solution that you may have to come up with 100 years from now, 50 years from now, is right at hand. Two options. If either say everybody has to have a genetic test, and if genetically you're not determined to be an Arab, you have to leave Israel or Palestine. If genetically you're not Arab, there are these tests. If genetically you're not Arab, you have to leave this area, and then whoever remains is considered Arab. We don't care about their religion. They can rule themselves. Or you can call it Israel, whatever you want to call it. But in that case, in that scenario, you will notice that, most of the Ashkenazi have to move out. And that's the core of Israeli population, the Ashkenazi European. That's the core of Israeli population. Yes, they have some brown Jews and black Jews, but that's, less than 10% of the society. 90% are of Ashkenazi Europeans. If you do genetic testing based on that determine whether they stay or leave, unfortunately 90% have to leave. Or they don't have to leave. They accept that it's an Arabian Peninsula and they're in minority, so they can live there like Europeans live in Thailand, but they can't rule there, their own little fiefdom. And it's pointless. The whole idea of these Israelis going to Israeli army to what? Push the natives out? So then you have to import, lazy ass brown people from India? You push people out, so let's import, other brown people and push these brown people. That is just insane. This idea that and Mr. Trump, with all due respect, the people around you are going to say that no, but the most important aspect of Israel is our enforcer in West Asia. They do what they tell them, we tell them to do. They collect information for us. They are our enforcers. They are our hitman in Asia, and we tell them that's their function for us, and we need that function. Yes, you need that function if you plan to run the empire through fear. here's the thing, Mr. Trump. If you plan to run the empire through fear, yes, you need Israel. Because, you need a hitman. You need a lot of hitmen around the world if you plan on, running a gangster-like empire. But it's just not necessary. It's just not necessary. It's more, the problem with gangster is there's always a lot of broken bones and bloodshed around them. Where it's not really necessary. If it's necessary that if you want to take other people's productivity by force, not by trade, but by force. Basically, if I may, sir, the attitude of the British Empire and the Uncle Sam's Empire until now has been no better than the attitude of the Somali pirates. Somali pirates also, basically, that's the whole problem with piracy, is that you believe you're entitled to somebody else's productivity. Therefore, you get on your boat and go in the middle of the ocean and decide that and the whole point is, if I can overpower somebody, I can rob them of their added productivity. That's how British have operated. Gunboat diplomacy, I need to rob people, rob all those colonies out of their productivity. And I want that productivity in England in gold. Therefore, I'm going to get on my ship and go and become a profiteer or privateer. It's like, and the whole business of, when you really look at it, President Trump, when you really look at it, the pirates of the Caribbean, they were all ex-British officers. So they learned the business of piracy from their government, their monarchy, their own system. They were working for the British upper class, conducting state piracy in the four corners of the world. Then they decided to become their own, steal for themselves, become pirates for themselves, and that, I guess, where they started calling them privateers. They privatized piracy. It was national piracy of the British and the French, and then it became privatized piracy. My point is this, sir, that you don't have to run an empire based on fear. And, after all, what is an empire? And you have to remember that an empire can last long if its members are happy with the empire. If the members of the empire are happy, you can have a very long-lasting empire. And you don't make them happy if you make these people fight each other in the empire. You haven't run a happy empire for a very long time, Mr. Trump. Not you, but your system, your managers. A happy empire is illogical. A logical empire is a happy empire. Logic says you tell Netanyahu that go and declare that Israel is going to become New York City from tomorrow. And all citizens have equal rights. It's going to be a secular government. And we all want to visit Israel. That's fine. From all across the planet, everybody can visit Israel. And everybody can buy property in Israel. But they're going to have a civil, secular law ruling the land. That would be the end of thing. That would be a worthwhile peace prize that they may give you. The military-industrial complex is not going to be happy with you, because they look at Israel as the first line of offense. They look at Israel as a money pit. They look at They look to make a lot of profit out of this war business in Israel. And this is all about that. And the idea that, and it's all about money. And the money that doesn't go to everybody, this is the money for whoever has invested in the military industrial complex. They make the money. People who get into arms industry, they make the money from the military industrial complex, because what they produce is the feed of this empire. So my point is this, sir, you make a lot of people happy, like 90% of the world happy, if you solve this situation. And this situation is not solved by force, sir, against Iran or against any other country in the region. It cannot, by economic force, by military. This solution to this is logical solution to Israel is Israel becoming a secular state, and accepting the Jewish people, accepting that they're going to live as a minority in Asia because they're Ashkenazi European, which is a logical outcome. That if you're European and you're living in Asia, yeah, you're going to be a minority. You don't like it, you go back to Europe, you will be part of the majority. As simple as that. And please don't tell me it's religion this, religion that, and no. You could have exiled the Lutherans to Palestine. You could have exiled any other small religious, you could have exiled the Mennonites to Palestine, or the Amish to Palestine. This is just a group of Europeans that you decided to exile from Europe into Asia. And I read this a few places, that the Israelis are really pissed off at these other white Europeans who have exiled them into Asia. Yeah. And they do have a right, and they believe it's their right to demand more and more from these people who exiled them. That would be the Europeans and North Americans. And to the point that I read a few places that Israeli military doesn't really respect or honor any American military personnel or European military personnel when they go to visit Israel, is because they feel entitled to all the help they're getting, because they feel they're fighting for you. They're fighting the natives of Asia on behalf of other white people. The Ashkenazi military is fighting the rest of Asia on behalf of other white people. And that's why they feel you as other white people owe them special attention and special thanks, but they don't give a fuck about you. The whole premise is that we are fighting your war. I thought Jewish people were smart, because why are you fighting their war? Why are you fighting a war against the brown people for other white people in Asia? Asia is the land of brown people. You're fighting Asians in Asia on behalf of other people, of white people. I thought the Jews are supposed to be smart. Hand the cheese back to the fucking British and say, hey British, you want to fight these people? You send in your own sons and daughters to fight these natives. We're coming back to Europe. Or we are dissolving Israel. We are going to say that Israel is going to be secular from tomorrow morning. End of story. You will have a peace for 1,000 years. This is what I'm saying, sir, that you have to know how to run an empire. An empire lasts longer if you can keep the peace. You keep the peace when you behave logically. When the natives are brown, you don't try to push the brown people off their land. You don't think that these brown people should not be ruling this land, but I'm going to import a bunch of other white people to rule this land. That cuts the life of empire short when you decide to act illogically based on profits, money. When the empire starts acting illogically because of profits, that's when the beginning of the end has begun. It's the beginning of the end when the empire when the systems start acting illogically. It's not logical for you to try to, have a hitman in Asia. It's just not. Having a hitman in Asia, a hitman of white people in brown Asia, is very expensive. That's why Korea is very expensive for Uncle Sam's managers to upkeep. 50,000 soldiers always at attention in Korean Peninsula. 50,000, 100,000 American soldiers at attention all the time because of the Arabian Peninsula. Do you see Korean Peninsula, Arabian Peninsula, and you are spending a lot of money. Crimea is the European Peninsula. You're spending a lot of money to keep a foothold of white people in these peninsula of land, these pieces of land, these peninsula that are not traditionally land of white people. In East Asia, in West Asia, Korean Peninsula, Arabian Peninsula, and the European Peninsula in Crimea. This is a Russian peninsula. The British have no business there. The white people, the Anglo-Saxons, the North Americans have no business to have in Ukraine, except its profits. Just like, I guess you said it so recently that, yeah, we have to think again about Crimea because of rare earth. I'm sorry, sir. Find your own rare earth. That rare earth is right up Russia's border. It's either, however you look at it, either it's right next to Russia or inside Russia. Doesn't matter how you look at it. But the point is this: they have priority over the resources that is in their land or right next to their land that should be in their sphere of influence. You have left your own resources in your own land, and you're killing people in somebody else's land in order to hopefully get their resources. To the Sane Society. Here's the thing, sir. Due to your German extraction, you're stubborn. The Iranians are stubborn. Your whole system has been stubborn for a very long time. For what, 70 years now? With regards to Israel, you have shown stubbornness that apparently this is the right idea. And the more you push it, the worse it's going to get. And at the end of the day, if you go to war with the Iranians, it would end up being basically Germans killing other Germans. Here's the thing, sir. Please follow logic, not profits. Logic. By following logic, your empire will extend in time. The more you follow profits, just profits, the shorter your imperial extent is going to be. It's kind of like, live fast and die young, or live live logically and reasonably and live till your old age. It's as simple as that. You lived, you're 80 something years old, Mr. Trump. You lived for a long time, and that means you try to live logically. Your brother, on the other hand, who passed away due to alcohol complications, he decided to act illogically and work against his own interests, so he died young. Same thing is you can work out about the empires. If they live logically, and which means promote peace everywhere, and promoting peace, that doesn't mean following crazy ideas about Europeans having some innate right in land in Asia. Salute. Illogical idea would be the idea that says Europeans, Ashkenazi Europeans, have some kind of innate right to Asian land. White people from Europe have some kind of innate right to land in Asia. That's not a logical idea. And the more you folks insist on this, you have insisted on it for 75 years. You know, and the more you insist on it, the worse opposition is going to get. And, you know, to the point, at this point in your history, almost 90%, 95%, 99% of the people of the world have become against you and your policies, specifically with regards to the empire, specifically in regards to Israel, and this idea that white people have some innate right in Asia, innate rights in Asia. That has brought, you know, that may bring the empire to a screeching halt. But there is a way out of it. The way is simple, sir. Logic, not stubbornness. Logic. You know, Germans, Iranians, anybody of that extraction, at least they have one other qualification, and that is they try to be logical. They're stubborn, but they try to be logical. They're also smart enough that understand what is logical and what is not. And you should use that sense, the German sense that you have, Brother Trump, to my German brother. You should use that common sense, that German common sense that you have, and understand that keeping this position stubbornly is not going to change anything except create more opposition. Solution, as I said, either genetic testing and send the Europeans back to Europe and let the Arabs run the Arabs, or just make it like New York City, which I think would be the preferable solution, Mr. Trump. You are from New York City. You know all races and religions can work together under a secular system. That would be ideal situation for Israel. And will you lose an ally? No, I don't think so. Many of these, you know, less than smart politicians state that Israel is our greatest ally in Asia. They say Israel is our greatest ally in the Middle East. I'm sorry, if you force Israel to behave logically and not be a religious state but become a secular state, everybody else in the region will become your ally. Let me repeat that again, sir, Mr. Trump. Now, right now, you have to say Israel is our greatest ally in West Asia because you have pissed off the rest of West Asia because of Israel. When I say pissed off the rest of West Asia, I mean the people on the street. I'm not talking about those few people in the palaces. You pay them, you can fuck them. That's just how, people in palaces operate. They're governors of their little countries, and you pay them, you can fuck them. But the people on the street, you don't have enough money to pay everybody to fuck everybody. So the people on the street are not happy with the situation of seeing other Arabs killed by these Europeans who just landed with the arms from other Europeans and North Americans, other white people. The people on the streets are not happy. So my point is this, sir, that if you stop supporting Israel, you will have a whole boatload of allies in the Middle East. If you stop supporting Israel, you have so many allies in the Middle East that you don't know what to do with. So this whole idea that Israel, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy when you say Israel is our greatest ally in the Middle East. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy because it's your greatest allies, because it's a unwanted situation that you're enforcing, so you're pissing off everybody else. Nobody else wants to be your ally in the Middle East because of your support for Israel. As soon as you lift your illogical support for the military state of Israel, everyone in the Middle East will become your ally, even the fucking Iranians. You see where I'm going with this? And when I say lift your support for Israel, is as simple as that. Take their nukes out and tell Israel you have to be a secular state. If you're worried about nukes, take the Israeli nukes out. If you're worried about giving nukes to a state which is going to be majority Arab, which is going to be West Asian, which is going to be Middle Eastern, and you're worried about these brown people having nuclear weapons, you take the nuclear weapons out and then you tell Israel it has to become a secular state, which means Arabs are probably going to be in the majority. In that scenario, you're going to have so many allies in the Middle East you don't know what to do with. They fall over each other to become your ally and your greatest ally. But right now, yes, you're right. Israel is your greatest ally because Israel is your only ally in the Middle East. Because of your policies. They're illogical. Your policies are against the majority and for the minority in the Middle East. A minority that doesn't have any, is not native. A minority that is dying to get out of there and go vacation in Brazil. You're spending a lot of money on Israel, and that's what's keeping the Israelis in Israel. You stop spending money in Israel and Israelis will leave. Majority of white people would rather live in Los Angeles than live in Israel. But the money in Israel is good, so they stay. Why money is good? Because you're giving freely to Israel. You're supporting a very illogical situation, and by supporting these illogical positions, by keeping these illogical positions, such as in Korean Peninsula, such as in Crimean Peninsula, such as in Arabian Peninsula, by trying to enforce illogical position for a very long time and spending money on it, you're cutting short the life of your own empire. I can't say it any more simpler than that. by supporting illogical position, are cutting short the life of your own empire. Salute. All you have to do is be logical. And as a German guy, you should have an affinity towards logic. Logic is Israel turning to New York state. Israel turning functionally, not legally, but functionally, Israel turning into an American state. You know, because that's in Asia. Again, it cannot be the 51st state of America because it's in fucking Asia. so it can't be America. But the logical solution is Israel become a secular state for Asians in Asia, and that means the brown people are going to be the majority. Yes, you're going to lose your enforcer in West Asia, but why would you need an enforcer if everybody in Asia is your ally? Why? Because you're not supporting Israel. If you're not supporting Israel, not supporting an apartheid state, the gated community state, the gated state of Israel. As soon as you stop supporting the gated community of white people in Israel, everybody in Middle East, you're going to be allies. Everybody wants to be your best ally. Even the people on the street want to be your allies. Forget about the people in palaces. If you act logically, force Israel to become secular and accept that the Arabs are going, because it's their land, the brown people are going to be the majority, and because it's their land, they're going to be the majority, and they're going to rule the place. And the Ashkenazi, if they want to stay, they understand that they're going to stay as a minority. If you support this logical concept, everybody in the Middle East is going to be your greatest ally, better ally than Israel, because you choose this logical solution. If you stop oppressing North Korea and supporting this South Korean business and wanting to have boots on the ground in Korean Peninsula, if you stop that, the whole Asia is going to become your ally. If you stop saber rattling towards China on its own doorstep, if you stop that, everybody in Asia is going to become your friend. You don't need to depend on Filipino with a guy with a half a brain in charge. Bong Bong Marcos, the thief and the liar, is your greatest ally in East Asia, Filipinos. And you know, that Luca Brausi, Netanyahu in West Asia is another great ally. These are hitmen. These are not allies. These are hitmen. These are the muscle. If you don't try to behave illogically, you don't need so much muscle. Salute. In conclusion, sir, I hope you preside over a long empire. And I hope you understand that in order to lengthen the life of an empire, the empire and its leaders have to behave very logically, make very logical decisions. And killing natives on their land, their own land, is not one of those logical decisions. Please make logical decisions about Israel, about Korea, about Ukraine. Please, and logical decisions often means pulling back. Logical decisions often means Yes, I don't, I don't belong in that neighborhood. You know, I maybe I sit home and mind my own business and don't go into that neighborhood to raise hell. A lot of times that's the logical decision. A lot of times sitting at home and promoting peace abroad is the logical decision. And you don't promote, and this idea of we're going to promote peace through strength. What are you trying to run a prison? Peace through strength, sir, it's the motto of the prison system. If you expect the rest of the planet, if you think the rest of the people living on this planet are your prisoners, the rest of the nations are your prisoners, then then the idea of peace through strength makes sense. I'm going to be the dominant, and this is going to be my prisons, and these motherfuckers are going to behave because I will have peace through strength. Do you see prison as a stable environment? This is my answer to this silly idea that Mr. Netanyahu stated just the other day, that yes, we are going to redraw the maps of Middle East, and we're going to have peace through strength. That was Mr. Netanyahu's message. Yes, if you're planning on running a prison, you can have the motto of peace through strength. But do you want to live in a planet where everybody's your prisoner? Remember that in a prison, prison is not a very stable environment, sir. Specifically because order is kept through strength. Therefore, prisoner is never a stable environment. And a lot of people get killed in this unstable environment. And, authorities really don't mind when the prisoners kill each other. And that's okay as far as the authorities are concerned. But even sometimes the guards are killed. That's why you have so much bloodshed around your empire. Because you're trying to run your empire like a prison. Strength through force. That's when you get a lot of casualties. A lot of prisoners die. Some guards die in an empire. If you look at it that way, Israel is a way one of your prison guards, and the Arabs are in a way like your inmates. Arabs are the inmates, and the Ashkenazi Jews are one of your prison guards in this prison that you're trying to run on planet Earth. You call the policy peace through strength. A lot of some Israelis also died. These are, the prison guards who died. And many more prisoners died. Those are the Palestinians who died. Yes, peace through strength, I guess it makes some kind of sense, but only if you're trying to run a prison. Sir, prisons go through riots every other year. Because continuous creating peace through continuous application of force is unsustainable. And it's very expensive. That's why Israel is very expensive. That's why Ukraine is expensive. That's why Korea is expensive. That's why your bill is running up. That's the budget deficit. Because you're trying to run the whole planet like a prison. You have to pay the prison guards to kill the prisoners in Gaza, in Ukraine. Well, the moment you stop looking at the whole planet as a prison and yourself as the chief of the prison, the moment you stop looking at it like that is the moment you understand that as an emperor you are like your father, and the rest of the planet are like your children, and you don't want to kill any of your children. So what does that mean? That means as a father, in order to keep the peace and not try to have, peace through strength. Imagine a father saying that I'm going to have peace in my household through strength. That means he has to beat up his kids every other day and be their prison guard instead of their father. President Trump, you have to think of yourself as the emperor, as a kind of father that doesn't want to run his household with the idea of peace through strength, because he doesn't want to run a prison. He wants to run a household. He wants to be the father of a household, not a chief of a prison. As such, you have to, thinking yourself as a father figure, you have to understand that the only way you can make things work in this family is not through strength, but it's through making logical decisions. Decisions that once you explained, 90% of the world, 99% of the world agrees with. Not vetoing the rest of the world in United Nations is the right way to go. It's an insane idea to think that we're going to run the world, we're going to have peace through strength. That empire doesn't last long, because it will feel like a prison for the other members of the empire, and they will lash out, and you have a very short-lived empire, just like the British had. They had an empire for 200 years because they're incompetent, short-sighted, because the British also thought that peace through strength is the answer. Peace through strength is the answer only if you think you're running a prison. Respectfully, salute.